The Constitution of India, Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Hello children, how are you? Hope you are healthy and happy. Nowadays the pandemic is increasing in such a way that many people are affected by it and the number is increasing day by day. Dear children, stay at home, take care of your health by taking immune boosting food, and doctors they are advising to take citrus rich food which can resist such kind of diseases. Dear children, you have to include citrus rich food so that you can prevent this disease and you will be healthy and you will be happy. As I am telling you that you will be healthy, when you want to be healthy, first you have to respect your body. When you respect your body, surely you will be having the feeling of love and care towards your body. When the feeling of love and care towards the body will be taking place, surely you will be eating nutritious food, and this nutritious food really will be giving the result and you will be healthy, and when you will be healthy you will be happy. Dear children, it is said that prevention is better than cure. By saying this, I move on to the recap session, where in the previous class we understood that classification system can be divided into three types: artificial system of classification, natural system of classification and phylogenetic system of classification. One by one we understood about these three types of classification, that is, what is artificial system of classification. It has been said that it is being classified on the basis of few easily observable morphological characters, and then we understood that Linnaeus system of classification is one of the example of artificial system of classification, and we came to know the drawbacks of this system. And second system we understood, that is natural system of classification, and in this system we understood that not only the external feature is included there, but also internal features are also considered in this system. And the example of this system is the classification of flowering plants given by George Bentham and Joseph Dalton Hooker. Later on we understood the third system of classification, that is phylogenetic system of classification. In this system of classification, the organisms are classified on the basis of evolutionary and genetic relationship. Later on we understood that there are different types of taxonomy also, and we know that what is taxonomy. Scientifically the naming of the plant is being done, that is called taxonomy, and we understood what is numerical taxonomy as well as cytotaxonomy and also chemotaxonomy. And according to the R.H. Whittaker's system of classification, we learned and we understood about the different kingdoms such as Monera, Protista, fungus, and we understood what all silent features are there related to Monera, Protista and fungus. In the previous chapter we learned about it, and in this chapter we understood about the kingdom algae, where its general feature we understood that it is a chlorophyll bearing thalloid plant, and it is autotrophic, and the thallus is unicellular flagellated. It may be non-flagellated, it may be colonial form, or it may be multicellular filamentous, and it may be flattened leaf like. And the examples of all these type of algae we came to know: Chlamydomonas, Chlorella, Volvox, Spirogyra, Laminaria, all these are the different types of algae. And next we came to know that we understood that algae, they are free floating or they may be attached form, and those algae which are attached form, they will be fixing their body with the help of anchoring structure called holdfast. And later on we understood about the reproduction taking place in algae. It may be vegetative, asexual and sexual. In the case of vegetative reproduction, we understood it is being done by fragmentation, and later on we understood about asexual reproduction by the production of different types of spores such as zoospores, and sexual reproduction it is taking by the fusion of two gametes, and it may be similar size or the gametes which are in dissimilar size, isn't it? Or we can say one gamete will be large and the other will be small. And we understood about isogamy and oogamy related to the size of gametes present in the algae. And the economic importance of algae, we understood that it is one of the important producer which is able to fix carbon dioxide, and it is a primary producer which is able to produce energy rich compound. Next, it has been said that hydrocolloids are produced there by certain marine algae, as well as in the case of hydrocolloids we have understood algin and carrageen are the two hydrocolloids which are been obtained from brown algae as well as red algae. And agar is a gel like substance which is obtained from red algae like Giletium and Gracilaria, isn't it? And next thing we understood that Chlorella and Spirulina, they are unicellular algae and they are used as food supplement by the space travelers. And next topic we understood that algae are classified into three main classes: Chlorophyceae, which is also known as green algae, Phaeophyceae, which is also known as brown algae, and Rhodophyceae, which is also known as red algae. And later on we discussed each classes in detail, and we understood that Chlorophyceae, they are having a unicellular, colonial and filamentous plant body, and they bear chlorophyll A and B in the chloroplast, and chloroplast may be discoid, plate like, reticulate, cup shaped, spiral or ribbon like. And next we understood it is having a storage bodies called pyrenoid, and the cell wall is made up of cellulose. And related to the reproduction, we understood it reproduces vegetatively by fragmentation, asexually by producing zoospores, and sexually by means of isogamous, anisogamous and oogamous type of reproduction. And you can see the examples of Chlorophyceae algae, that also we understood. And in the case of Phaeophyceae, we came to know that it is multicellular, filamentous, and there are large brown algae which are known as kelp. Chlorophyll A, C, carotenoid and xanthophylls are present there. And later on we understood that the color of this algae is due to the presence of xanthophyll pigment called fucoxanthin. And then we understood that the food is stored in the form of laminaria and mannitol, and here the plant body is attached to the holdfast. The stalk of the algae is called stipe. Here the figure you can see stipe, and the leaf like photosynthetic organ is called frond. This is frond. This thing we have understood in the previous class. And here also the reproduction is taking by means of vegetative, asexual and sexual. vegetative by means of fragmentation, asexual by means of biflagellated zoospores, and sexual is by means of the methods isogamous, anisogamous and oogamous. Later on we have understood about the third class of the third class of algae, and that is rhodophyceae. Here the red color is due to the presence of red pigment called R-phycoerythrin. The thallus is multicellular and the food is stored in the form of floridine starch. Vegetative reproduction is by fragmentation. Asexual reproduction by the formation of non-motile spores, and here again sexual reproduction is taking place by means of isogamous, anisogamous and oogamous method, and you can see there are different types of rhodophyceae. You can see, and in this manner we understood about the algae. I think you would have understood it very clearly, my dear children, related to algae, which I took in the previous class. Now in this session I am going to take bryophyte. Bryophytes. Bryon means moss, phyto means plants, isn't it? When we break bryophytes, it is bryon, which is known as moss, and phyto means plants. These are land plants with undifferentiated plant body. Here also the plant body is undifferentiated, that means the plant body is not differentiated into root, stem or leaf, it is thallus. Bryophytes are called amphibians of plant kingdom. This is important because it can live on land but need water for reproduction. We used to say frog is amphibious in nature, isn't it? In the same way, in the plant kingdom, bryophytes, they are known as amphibians of plant kingdom, because amphi means half, isn't it? Because it can live on land but then require water for reproduction. Therefore, they are called amphibians of plant kingdom. This is very, very important. Characteristics or silent feature of bryophytes. The plant body is thallus-like. We know that what is thallus. Just now I told you, undifferentiated plant body. It is attached to the substratum by rhizoids. Here one change we can see, isn't it? Rhizoids are produced there in bryophytes. And the plant body is gametophytes. Gametophytes means gameto means gametes. Phytes means plant. The plant body producing gametes are called gametophytes. So the plant body is gametophyte. The male sex organ is called antheridium. So in the gametophyte plant body we can see the male sex organ as well as the female sex organ. The male sex organ will be producing anthrazoids, which is biflagellated. It is having two flagella. Bi means two, flagellated means flagella, and we know that what is flagella. Flagella, they are the locomotory organ which is helping the body to move from one place to another place. So here the male sex organ is antheridium. It is called antheridium, and this antheridium is producing anthrazoids. These are sperms. And the female sex organ is called archegonium, and this archegonium is flask shape. It is in the form of flask and it produces single egg in it. Understood? So the female sex organ is called archegonium and the male sex organ is called antheridium. The male sex organ is producing anthrazoids and the female sex organ is producing egg. The anthrazoids, they fuse with the egg to produce zygote. During fertilization what will happen? The anthrazoids, they are the sperms, they will fuse with the egg. This egg is produced in the archegonium, and when the fusion between the anthrazoids and egg is taking place, what is the product? Zygote is the product. And next you can see the zygote develops into a multicellular body called sporophyte. The zygote later on will be undergoing mitosis and meiosis, what all stages are there, and later on what will happen, a multicellular plant body is produced there, that is called sporophyte. Sporophyte, from the term itself we can say spore bearing plant body. So, zygote is giving rise to spore bearing plant body, which is called sporophyte. The sporophyte undergoes reduction division, that is meiosis, to produce haploid spores. So, in the sporophyte what is present there? Spores are present there, and when it undergo meiosis, the spores will be haploid and the spores germinates to produce gametophyte, and these spores, when they will be germinating, they will be producing gametophyte. Gametophyte means gamete bearing plant body. Okay. Now, the economic importance of bryophyte we can see here. Some of them are used as food. Some mosses, they bind soil and prevent soil erosions. They will be binding with the soil. Some mosses will be there and they will be interlocking themselves with the soil. So, what will happen? The soil erosion will not be taking place. The moss sphagnum, this is the sphagnum which is used by gardeners to keep cut plant part moist during transportation. Certain plant parts will be transported from one place to another place. So, for the transportation of the plant parts, and when the transportation is taking place, that time these plant parts should not get dried up. So, for not making it dried up, sphagnum is the moss which is used there to cover this plant, and as sphagnum is moist there, it is producing moisture to the plant. So, surely the plant part which are kept inside this sphagnum, surely what will happen? They will not be dried up during transportation. Next one you can see here. It provides, that is sphagnum provide peat, and what is peat? A brown deposit when dried can be used as fuel. So, the sphagnum when it will be dried, we will be getting a brown deposit, and that can be used as fuel. That can be used as fuel. You can see here, isn't it? It's very, very important again. Here you can see different types of bryophytes. This is Markensia, where you can see archegoniophore, where this is archegoniophore, that is it is a female part, and this is anthridiophore, that is it is a male part. So, anthridiophore, it is producing anthridium, and inside the anthridium sperms are the anthrozoids will be there, and archegoniophore, it is a stalk there where you can see archegonium, and in archegonium is a flask shaped structure, and inside it the single egg will be present there, isn't it? Now, here this is sphagnum gametophyte. Here also you can see antheridial branch is there, and this one is the archegonial branch, and this one you can see is the funaria. Funaria, again you can see this is this much part is gametophyte, and from here till here it is sporophyte, and this is the capsule in which the spores are produced. So, the fruit and the leafy part is gametophyte, the seta and the capsule is sporophyte, and this is the rhizoid present there. So, these are the few examples of bryophytes. Now, you can see the next part, that is bryophytes are divided into two classes, liverworts and mosses. Liverworts, the plant body is a green, flat, dorsiventral thallus. You may be knowing what is green. It is green in color, it is flat, but what is the next term? That is dorsiventral. It is having dorsal side as well as ventral side. The thallus is seen as dorsal as well as when it is having two sides, dorsal side as well as ventral side. Asexual reproduction takes place by the formation of specialized structure called gamma, or we can say it is game. So, the asexual reproduction is been taking place by the formation of specialized structure which is called game or gamma, and it can be by the fragmentation also. So, by the formation of specialized structure called game or by fragmentation, asexual reproduction is taking place. And what are game? Game are green multicellular asexual buds develops in a receptacles in the thallus called gamma cup. This is important. The question paper about game as well as gamma cup question used to come. What is game? It is a green multicellular asexual buds. They are asexual buds, they are green in color and they are multicellular and they are developed in the gamma cup, isn't it? Now, you can see the next part. Male and female sex organs are produced on the same or different thallus. So, in the case of bryophyte, the sex organs just now we have seen, isn't it? It has been seen here in the figure we have seen. That is related to the structure we have seen there, that is here we can see archegonial 4 as well as antheridial same thallus. Here different thallus are there on which the sex organs are produced, as well as on the same thallus we can see the sex organs are produced. This is the one thallus in which antheridial branch is there as well as archegonial branch is there, isn't it? But in the case of Markentia, we can see two different thallus are there, and here different sex organs are produced on different thallus. So, it is been said that male sex organs are produced on the same or different thalli. Male branch is called antheridial just now we have seen, and the female branch is called archegoniophore, that also we have seen just now. Antheridia produces flagellated sperms which are called anthrozoids. Archegonia produces female gametes called egg cells. Now, anthrozoids, they fuse with the egg, and after fertilization what is produced there? Sporophyte is produced there, that also we understood very nicely. Sporophyte consists of food, seta and capsule, that also we understood in the structure of Funaria. I told you gametophytic area is there and sporophytic area is there. The gametophyte is having the food with the green leafy part, the rhizoid is present there, and the sporophyte is there which constitute the seta and capsule. So, it has been said that sporophyte consists of food, seta and capsule, and the spores are formed in the capsule, and the spores germinate to form gametophyte. Example, Riccia markentia, and here you can see the figure of the bryophyte, where you can see this is the gamma cup. You can see here this is the gamma cup. Here you can see in the form of receptacle, they are seen here on the surface of the thallus, and inside this gamma cup we can see gammae, which are green multicellular asexual buds. Okay. Now, that was related to liverwort. Now, we are going to learn and understand about mosses. The plant body is gametophyte. Gametophyte occurs in two forms here. Number 1 is protonema stage and number 2 is leafy stage. Protonema stage, it is formed from the germination of spores. And what is protonema? It is a creeping, green, branched and filamentous stage. What do you mean by creeping? It will be moving on the surface of the soil, isn't it? Or it will be seen in the form of a stem, that is thin stem, isn't it, which will be creeping on the surface of the ground, which will be moving on the surface of the ground, and it is green, it is branched and filamentous, that is it is hair like structure. And what is leafy stage? It develops from secondary protonema, that is, this protonema stage will be moving to the secondary stage. That time the leafy stage is developed there as a lateral bud, and it consists of slender erect axis bearing spirally arranged leaf. So, leafy stage is having a erect slender axis, and on this axis leaves are present there in the spiral form. Okay. So, that is the two stages related to gametophyte. In the case of moss, these two stages are very important, my dear children. You have to study it. You can see the figure related to protonema and leafy stage. This is protonema, filamentous, isn't it? You can see it is filamentous, and here leafy, this is leafy stage. Okay. Now, you would have understood this is leafy stage and this is the protonema stage. Now, the next one is related to the reproduction. In the case of mosses, the reproduction is taking place vegetatively, it is by fragmentation and also by budding in secondary protonema. In the secondary protonema, fragmentation and budding is the reproductive process through which a new moss will be produced there, and the second one is the sexual reproduction, where the male branch bears male reproductive structure called antheridia, and it produces flagellated sperm which is called anthrazoids. Female branches, they produce flask shaped reproductive organs called archegonia, and the archegonia produces the eggs. I think you would have understood about it. And after fertilization, zygote develops into sporophyte. So, you can see this is the life cycle of moss, where this is the gametophytic phase and this is the sporophytic phase. In the case of gametophytic phase, when we begin with the gametophyte, here you can see two gametophytes are there. One is the female gametophyte, the other one is the male gametophyte. In the male gametophyte, we can see antheridium is there, and inside the antheridium sperms are present there, and in the case of female gametophyte, archegonium, you can see it is a flask shaped structure, and inside the archegonium you can see one egg, single egg. Now, after the formation of sperm and egg, what will happen? You can see the sperm reaches into the archegonium inside it, and it will be fusing with the egg, and fertilization is taking place there. And after fertilization, the next stage is related to sporophytic stage, where you can see the formation of zygote, and later on zygote develops into embryo, which is a young sporophyte, and later on what is happening there? The sporophyte will be having foot, seta and capsule. The capsule is bearing the spore, and this spores, that is the spores, they will be undergoing meiosis to produce haploid spores, and again these spores, they will be falling on a suitable substratum, so that again what will be produced there? Gametophytic plant will be produced there, in which first one will be the protonema stage. You can see protonema stage, and later on the leafy stage is being developed there, and again what is happening? The gametophytic plants are produced, and this is how the cycle will be taking place in the case of moss. My dear children, this is just I want to make you understand about it. This is not so important for you, but to make you understand about the life cycle of moss or the life cycle taking place in bryophyte, I just shown you this figure. It is very important for you when you will be moving on for the higher studies. Now, next one, the sporophyte is differentiated into foot, seta and capsule. The spores are formed in the capsule after meiosis, and the spores germinate to form green branched filamentous structure called protonema, isn't it? Now, example of moss is Funaria, Polytrichum and Sphagnum. So, this is the example of mosses. So, here we have completed with bryophyte. My dear children, in bryophyte you have to study the important parts which I have already highlighted with the colored font, and you have to go through it, and if you are having any doubt related to bryophyte, please call me and clarify your doubt. Now we are moving on to the next topic, that is pteridophytes. Pteridophytes means pteris means fern, phyton means plant. So, the fern plants are called pteridophytes. When we are moving to the Wayanad area, we can see, isn't it, on the rock many ferns are present there. So, these ferns, they are pteridophytes. These are seedless vascular plants. See the change, the modification, or the what we can say, the level has changed. We have studied about unicellular, this is an organism, Monera. Then we came to know about Protista, which is again there in the classification of Whitaker's classification, and later on we understood about fungi. They are eukaryotic multicellular, but later on we understood in the plant kingdom there is algae, which is thallus, isn't it? It is not differentiated there. And when we moved on to bryophyte, small modification we have seen there, isn't it? And later on, now here in the case of pteridophyte, again a modification we can see in the plant body, and it has been said that it is seedless vascular plant. And you may be knowing about vascula, that is, it consists of vascular bundles or vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem, and we know what is the function of xylem and we know what is the function of phloem, as we have already studied in our previous classes, isn't it? Now, next one, it has been said that plant body is a sporophyte, and it is differentiated into roots, stems and leaves. In the case of bryophyte, what we have studied, it is a undifferentiated plant body, but in case of pteridophyte, it has been said that it is differentiated into roots, stems and leaves. And here the leaves are of two types, microphylls and macrophylls. Micro means small, phylls means leaves. Example, Selaginella. This example is important. Macrophylls, macro means large, phylls means leaves. Example, ferns. In many ferns we can see large leaves. In certain ferns such as Selaginella, we can see small leaves. So, we can see in the case of pteridophyte, there are two types of leaves, microphylls as well as macrophylls. You can see here the figure showing root, stem and leaf. Here you can see root, stem and leaf is present there because they have vascular tissue. Here you can see root is there, stem is there as well as leaf is there. This is the figure of a pteridophyte, or we can see a fern. Okay. Now, the spores are developed inside the sporangia. We know what is sporangia. It is a sac-like structures. So, in the case of pteridophyte, the spores, they are developed inside a sac-like structure, that is called sporangia. And the sporangia arises on the lower side of the fertile leaf called sporophyll. When we see the leaf is having two sides, and on the lower side, that is, if this is upper side and this is lower side, so on this side we can see what sporophylls, and in this sporophyll we can see sporangia. Okay. And this lower side of the leaf is fertile leaf. It is called fertile leaf as it contains what? Sporophylls, and this sporophylls, it is having sporangia, and in the sporangia what is present there? Spores are present there. In some ferns, sporophylls form distinct compact structures called strobili or cones. In certain ferns, the sporophyll, it is forming a distinct structure and it is called strobili or cones. You can see here, this is strobili or it is cone. Okay, this is cone. Here you can see it is having roots, isn't it? It is having stem, it is having this stem, you can see sterile stem is there, it is having leaf, and in that area itself we can see the fertile stem is also present there, and on this fertile area we can see the strobilus. Okay, you can see here this is sporophyll leaf which is bearing sporangia, isn't it? And these are the megasporangium and this is the microsporangium. That is, microsporangium is bearing microspores and megasporangium is bearing megaspores. So, two different types of spores we can see in the case of pteridophytes. Mega means large and micro means small, isn't it? Again you can see here in this picture Selaginella. This is strobili. This is the fertile leaf, okay, strobili. The dorsal side you can see here and this is the ventral side. Okay, so that is about the sporophyll. I think you would have understood about it. Now, the sporangia, it produces spores and the spores germinate to form a thin heart shaped photosynthetic structure called prothallus. This is again important, my dear children. In bryophyte we have studied about protonema, isn't it? And in pteridophyte it is prothallus. So, in the question paper related to protonema and prothallus, question used to come, you should not be confused. Protonema is to bryophyte and prothallus is to pteridophyte. You have to study what is protonema and what is prothallus. It has been said that the spore germinates to form a thin heart shaped photosynthetic structure. So, prothallus is a heart shaped photosynthetic structure. The gametophyte in pteridophytes is known as prothallus. In the case of bryophyte, the gametophyte present in bryophyte is protonema and the gametophyte which is present in pteridophyte is prothallus. Both are gametophytes, but that is bryophyte and this is pteridophyte. That is protonema and this is prothallus. What is prothallus we can see? It is a small, inconspicuous and multicellular structure which is formed from the germination of haploid spores. How does prothallus is formed? From haploid spores. Haploid means single spores. From the haploid spores, the multicellular small inconspicuous structure is formed there and that is called prothallus. It is independent and autotrophic. Prothallus is independent, it is not dependent on anything and it is autotrophic, that is it is photosynthetic, that is it can prepare its own food. I think you would have understood about prothallus, my dear children. Now, the figure related to prothallus you can see heart shaped, isn't it? It is heart shaped and it is having rhizode. Here you can see it is heart shaped. This is heart shape, you can see here, and it consists of rhizoids, and in the prothallus you can see antheridia as well as archegonia. Okay, gametophyte it is a gametophyte. Surely it will be bearing gametes, it will be bearing sex organs, that is archegonia, as well as archegonia is the female sex organ and antheridia is the male sex organ. I think you would have understood about prothallus very clearly, my dear children. Here in this picture you can see a young sporophyte is developed there by the production of sporophyte by prothallus. Prothallus within a young sporophytic plant, in a sporophytic with a young sporophytic plant. So, a prothallus is there which is having a young sporophytic plant with it. Now, the next one is related to the gamete bear male sex organ antheridia which produces anthrozoids. It also bear female sex organ called archegonia which produces egg cell. Here you can see in this structure, you can see this is the gametophytic body Archegonia and Antheridia. Archegonia will be producing the egg and Antheridia will be producing the sperm. And next it is been said that after fertilization, zygote is formed and this zygote produce a multicellular sporophyte, and this sporophyte is dominant phase in the pteridophyte. The sporophyte produces spores, and the majority of pteridophyte, the spores produced will be of similar type, and such plants are called homosporous. So, the spores which are produced there in the pteridophyte, they are similar in size, and in those plants where the spores are similar in size, they are called, those plants are called homosporous. This is again important. Selaginella and Salvinia produces two kinds of spores. Again here we can see the difference. Okay, my dear children, homosporous I told you, homo means same, sporous means spores. So, certain pteridophytes, they are producing similar spores and those plants are called homosporous. But there are certain cases in case of pteridophytes such as Selaginella and Salvinia, which are producing two kinds of spores, megaspore and microspore. Megaspores, they are large in size. From the name itself we can say mega means large, micro means small. So, megaspores and microspores are produced there. As these plants or these pteridophytes, they are producing two different kinds of spores. Such plants are called heterosporous. Hetero means different, sporous means spores. So, the plants or the pteridophytes which are producing different spores are called heterosporous. The megaspore, that is the megaspore germinates to form female gametophyte and the microspore germinate to form male gametophyte. I think you would have understood about it. This is again very important, my dear children. You have to understand it. Now, the figure related to spores produced by the ferns, you can see here, this is homosporous, isn't it? You can see here similar spores are there. This is homosporous and here you can see heterosporous. This is the megaspore and this one is the microspores. So, two different plants are there, two different pteridophytes are there which are producing homospores as well as heterospores, isn't it? Now, here you can see again there is a structure of microspore as well as megaspore. Microspores are produced in the microsporangium and this microsporangium is present on the microsporophyll. Similar way, the megaspore is produced in the megasporangium and the megasporangium is seen in the megasporophyll. And here you can see once again the structure here, or in this case you can see here microspores, microsporangium, isn't it? Megaspores, megasporangium, and here you can see the enlarged part of microsporangium and megasporangium. So, this is the structure of spores produced by the fern. Already we understood that pteridophyte is producing, most of the pteridophyte is producing homosporous, that is the condition is homosporous, and certain or few pteridophytes are there like Selaginella, Salvinia, in which we can see two types of spores are produced there and they are called heterosporous. This is the heterosporous condition and this is the homosporous condition. This is related to Selaginella and Salvinia and this is related to Lycopodium, which is a pteridophyte. In Lycopodium we can see homosporous condition. Okay. I think you would have understood about it. Now, you can see the difference between homosporous and heterosporous. Okay, homosporous versus heterosporous plant. In the case of homosporous, the sporophyte will be producing single type of spores, that is similar spores will be produced there, and this Similar spores will be producing bisexual gametes, that is, in them the gametes male and female will be together and egg and sperm is produced there. Now, in the case of heterosporous plants, we can see the sporophyte is producing two different spores, that is megaspore and microspore, and the megaspore is producing female gametophyte which will be producing the egg, and the microspore will be producing male gametophyte which will be producing the sperm. I think you would have understood about homosporous and heterosporous very nicely. Now, you can see the life cycle of fern. Here you can see what is happening. This is the sporophytic condition, isn't it? This is the new sporophyte, fertilization is taking place there. Okay, so we can move from here. This is the fertile leaf, isn't it, which is called sporophyll, and in the sporophyll we can see sporangium, and the sporangium is having the spores, and after meiosis the sporangium, you can see here food, seta and capsule. So, inside the capsule the spores are present there. So, meiosis will be taking place there and haploid spores are produced there, and these haploid spores, they will germinate to form or to produce, that is, these haploid spores, they will be producing a heart shaped structure which is photosynthetic, and that is prothallus, and prothallus is gametophytic in nature. So, it bears male sex organ as well as female sex organ, and in the case of male sex organ the sperms are produced there, and in the case of female sex organ egg is formed there, and this sperm and egg, they will be fusing to form zygote through the process called fertilization, and zygote will be again undergoing many division to produce a new sporophyte, and this new sporophyte, it will mature again, and again what is happening there, we can see here the sporangium, isn't it, the fertile leaf is there, and in the fertile leaf again sporangium is there, and again the same process will be taking place there. So, this is the life cycle of sperm, my dear children. In your book this is not there, just I have to give you the knowledge related to the sperm, that is why I have shown this figure. This is not important, but this will be useful for you when you will be going for higher studies. Now, the next one is the female gametophyte is retained on the parent sporophyte for a short period. So, here it has been said that female gametophyte, isn't it, it is retained there on the parent. We know that sporophytic plant, it is dominant in the pteridophyte, and on this sporophyte which is a parent plant, the female gametophyte will be present there for short period. The development of zygote into young embryo take place within the female gametophyte. So, what is happening there? The development of embryo, it is taking place where? Inside the female gametophyte, and this female gametophyte, it is present where? On the sporophyte. Okay. Now, this event, which event? The development of zygote into the young embryo. That event is a precursor, that is a substance from which another substance is formed to the seed habit. So, already I told you there is a modification taking place from one form to another form, isn't it? So, in the case of pteridophyte, what is happening there? Zygote is being developing, and later on a young embryo is formed there in the female gametophyte, and that event is leading to the seed habits. That is, we are now moving to the advanced form of the next plant, and that is angiosperms. So, in the next class we will be dealing with the angiosperms. So, that is, this part is very important, my dear children, as question used to come from this part, and you have to answer the question by writing this point, that is the development of zygote into young embryo which is taking place within the female gametophyte. That event is the precursor for the seed habit. I think you would have understood about it, my dear children. So, now what you have to do is that you have to watch my video for 2 to 3 or 4 or 5 times and jot down the points which was highlighted by color font, and if you are having any doubt related to today's session, you can call me and clarify your doubt, my dear children. So, by saying this, I wind up this session. We will be meeting in the next session. Till then, take care.